Isang masayang pagbati na may ngiti sa aking mga labi. Naghahanap ba kayo ng makakatuwang sa pagre-review ng inyong anak? Meron yan sa DepEd. Ang ETUlay online tutorial ay libre at handog ng ating kagawaran sa pangunguna ng OUA ICTS EdTech. Ito ay isang proyektong makatutulong sa mga mag-aaral, katuwang ang mga magulang o kasama sa kani-kanilang tahanan para masagutan at maunawaan ang mga modules. Hangad din ng programang ETUlay ang matulungan ang ating mga guro sa kanilang mga blended learning classes. Ang ating ETUlay ay mula kinder hanggang senior high school. Bukod sa academics, meron din tayong mga special programs gaya ng All is Wellness, Reading and Math Remediation, Storytelling, Mommy Tech Talks, Classes sa Gramatika, Speech Class, Financial Literacy, at marami pang iba. Pinalawig din ng ETUlay ang ating Alive program para sa mga mag-aaral mula grade 1 hanggang grade 3. Gayon din ay mayroon tayong ALS program at SPED tutorials na makasisigurong makakamit ng lahat ang inclusive education. May SPED hotline na rin para sa inyong mga katanungan patungkol sa special education. Kaya, subaybayan mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, mula 9 ng umaga hanggang 7 ng gabi ang ating ETUlay. Sa ating pagtutulungan, maiaangat natin ang bawat isa. Ating itutulay ang pagkatuto upang di mapigil ang pag-aaral ng kabataang Pilipino. Itulay natin ito, sulong edukalidad.
Mabuhay! Good day to all! I am your tutor Madge. Welcome to ETUlay, a free online tutorial, an initiative of the Department of Education, Information and Communications Technology Service, Educational Technology Unit, ICTS EdTech. This program is aimed at helping and assisting learners from kindergarten, senior high school, ALS, Alive, and SPED learners. Aside from answering the modules, the ETUlay is offering programs which you will surely look forward to. Together with our parents and teachers, the ETUlay will bridge the gaps where difficulty and ease meet in learning new knowledge and skills. So, let us prepare our modules, pen and paper. Ready your mind to see and hear worthwhile and interesting lessons. Let us now study and learn, together with our volunteer online tutors. Tara na!
Ayan, good afternoon sa inyong lahat. Hintayin lang natin yung aking PowerPoint presentation. Ayan, so hello at isang napakagandang hapon ulit sa inyong lahat. At syempre isang maligayang pagbabalik dito sa ating ETUlay Physical Science Live Session. Kumusta kayong lahat? Sana kayo ay nasa maayos na kalagayan. Ako nga pala ang inyong tutor ngayong araw, Tutor Nel from SDO Pasig City. Ngayong araw ang ika-4 na linggo sa 4th quarter ng Physical Science. Handa na ba kayong matuto? Pero bago ang lahat, i-share at i-like ninyo sa inyong mga newsfeed ang ating live session para naman mas lalo pang dumami ang ating Physical Science family. At syempre, para sa mga walang sawang sumusuporta sa ating mga live sessions, maraming salamat po. Bago tayo magpatuloy sa ating kaabang-abang na topic ngayong hapon, ay atin munang bigyan ng kaunting oras at panahon para kilalanin ang ating mga partner schools sa ating nakasama last week. For week number 3, maraming salamat po sa ating mga partner schools at sa inyong walang sawang pagsuporta sa ating ETUlay Physical Science Live Session. At syempre, congratulations po sa inyong pagiging #MahuSCI. Para po sa ating mga partner schools, last week, we have San Mariano National High School, Maine, from San Mariano, Isabela. Luis Fe Gomez Diamantina National High School from Cabanatuan, Isabela. Godofredo Reyes Sr. National High School from Camarines Sur. Pasay City East High School from Pasay City. Padre Garcia National High School from Padre Garcia, Batangas. And Lorenzo S. Sarmiento Senior National High School from Combal, Davao de Oro. At syempre, kailangan din nating parangalan ang ating students of the week for week numbers 2 at week number 3. At ang amin pong bibigyan ng parangal ay ang mga taga-subaybay na nagpasa ng kanilang mga output sa activities na ibinigay namin noong week 2 at week 3. Unahin po natin ang ating mga students of the week for week number 2. We have from San Mariano National High School, Maine, Isabela. Ang teacher po nila ay si Mr. Leo Galiza. From 12 Herodotus, the following are our students of the week. We have Jezani May Aquino, Jomari Sibal, Hazel Mateo. Yan. And para naman po sa ating student of the week for week number 3, we have Steele from San Mariano National High School, Maine, from Isabela. At the same time, teacher niya pa rin po si Mr. Leo Galiza. We have Jomari Sibal from grade 12 Herodotus. Ayan. So, para naman po sa ating ibang mga tagas-pagsubaybay, huwag po tayong magsawang magpasa ng ating mga outputs. Malay ninyo, ang output naman po ninyo ang ating mapili para ma-feature next week sa ating Students of the Week for week number 4. Okay? So, let's give them a round of applause sa ating mga partner schools at ating mga Students of the Week. Congratulations po sa inyong lahat at sana po ay patuloy kayong sumubaybay at magpakitang gilas dito sa ating Physical Science live sessions. Narito naman po ang most essential learning competencies o MELCs na covered natin for this week. We have 2. Number 1, cite experimental evidence showing that electrons can behave like waves. And number 2, differentiate dispersion, scattering, interference, and diffraction. Bago natin i-discuss ang ating topic, mag-review muna tayo ng ating past discussions. Last session, the following things were discussed. The first one are the theories of lights proposed by Newton and Huygens. Naalala nyo, di ba, mayroong dalawang theories about the nature of light. Mayroon tayong wave theory na proposed by Christian Huygens at meron din naman tayong particle theory proposed naman by Isaac Newton. Aside from this, diniscuss din natin how light propagates. We learned that light can be refracted, absorbed, or reflected. Now, let us get started with the topic. Ang topic natin for today ay ang dual nature of electrons and the interactions of light. Alam naman nating lahat na atom is considered as the building blocks of matter in the universe. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng matter ay binubuo ng mga atoms. Ngunit kahit na sobrang liit na ng mga atoms, ito ay binubuo pa rin ng mas maliit pang mga particles na tinatawag na subatomic particles. Balikan nga natin kung ano-ano ang mga subatomic particles na meron sa isang atom. I-recall natin ang ating lessons from junior high school. Ano-ano ba ang tatlong subatomic particles na meron sa isang atom? Sige nga. Kung naaalala pa ng ating mga live viewers, what are the 3 subatomic particles found inside an atom? Okay? Meron ba makakasagot? Okay, hintayin ko yung inyong answers. Search ako sa comment section ha. Ayan. Okay, so and good afternoon. Siyempre habang naghihintay tayo ng sagot sa aking question, What are the three subatomic particles of atom? Let us greet first yung mga currently ay nandito na sa ating live sessions na yung mga ating mga students. Yan, good afternoon and again, thank you for participating in our live session. Okay, so tama, no? Ang ating tatlong subatomic particles na meron tayo, ang mga atoms ay ang electron, protons, and neutrons. Now, can you differentiate the three subatomic particles based on their location and charges? Ano yung pinagkaiba ng location ng proton and neutron at saka ng electron? At ano yung kanilang mga charges? Di ba? Meron silang iba't ibang charges. You learned that when you were in junior high school. Okay? Yan. So that is correct, no? Protons and neutrons are found in the nucleus of the atom. Based on this diagram, no, yung nakita nyo sa center, that is the nucleus of the atom. And aside from, electrons are found outside the nucleus. And aside from this, ang neutron ay mayroong neutral charge. Ibig sabihin, zero yung kanyang charge. Samantalang ang proton naman ay mayroong positive charge at ang electron ay mayroong negative charge. Sa ating discussion for today, magpo-focus lang tayo about sa mga electrons. Before we discuss the theories regarding the nature of light, we need to understand first, or the nature of electrons, we need to understand first how scientists explained. Okay, so just like light, no, electrons' true nature also puzzled the scientific community for a long time. So just like our discussion last week about the nature of light, the true nature of electron also baffled the scientific community. Now, so is electron a particle or a wave? That is also one of the questions na nagpapuzzle sa ating scientists during their times. So let us first describe what an electron is. So gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, electron is a subatomic particle that has a negative electric charge. Okay, represented by the circle with a negative sign. It has a mass that is approximately 1,836 times less than that of proton. So ganun siya kaliit, no? Ganun kaliit yung kanyang mass, almost negligible or zero. Now, it was identified as a particle by Joseph John Thomson in 1897 using the cathode ray tubes. So yung picture sa baba na makikita ninyo dyan ay ang example ng isang cathode ray tube. Ito ang ginamit ni J.J. Thomson para pag-aralan ang mga electrons. Okay? Now, just like light, the nature of electron has also been an area of discussion for a long time. The question is, ano ba talaga ang electron? Ito ba ay isang particle o ito ay isang wave? Bago natin masagot ang tanong na ito, i-differentiate muna natin ang particle at wave. Let's start with particles. A particle is a minute portion of matter and is also referred to as the smallest known building blocks of the universe. So makikita nyo sa ating GIF, makikita nyo na parang gumagalaw yung mga tuldok, those dots represents a particle. Okay? It is a small, finite object that can be held in our hand. It has momentum and position. On the other hand, wave is a disturbance that travels through space, time, and medium, accompanied by transferring of energy. So, on the diagram on your right, that is an example of a wave. Okay? So, wave transfers energy and not matter. Thus, waves are said to be an energy transport phenomenon. So hindi siya kino-consider na matter. Wave is just something that transfers energy. Okay? So waves are considered oscillations and are not localized. Okay. So now that we differentiate particles from waves, alam naman natin na ang electron ay kino-consider na isang particle, di ba? Based on what J.J. Thomson observed in his cathode ray tube experiment. So, Thomson established that electron is considered as a particle. So the question is, how is the electron, which is considered a particle, exhibit wave-like behavior at the same time? Now, to answer this question, we need to recap the things that we talked about, the wave and particle theories of light that we discussed last week. So, i-recall lang po natin yung ating discussion last week sa ating live session. Okay? Now, in our discussion last week, we talked about Isaac Newton and his corpuscular theory of light. So Isaac Newton believed that light was made up of small particles and these particles would naturally have mass. He also deduced that the beam of light parallel to the surface of the Earth would bend downward due to the pull of Earth's gravity. On the other hand, we also have the wave theory of light, which was proposed by Christian Huygens. He believed that light was made up of vibrating wave perpendicular to the direction it travels. In a vacuum or other uniform mediums, light waves are spherical as they spread out as they travel at the speed of light. Now, this statement is called the Huygens principle. So, para daw siyang yung ripple ng water, no, based on that diagram. So, that is how light travels according to Huygens principle. So, maliban kina Newton at Huygens, pinag-aralan naman ni Thomas Young ang interference ng light waves gamit ang double slit experiments noong 1803. Okay? So itong diagram na makikita nyo dito ay ang double slit experiment na ginawa ni Thomas Young to observe the interference of light waves. So papansin natin dito sa unang part ng diagram sa bandang taas is the light source. In this case, yung sunlight. Tapos, as you can see, doon sa first screen niya, meron ka makikitang single slit or single na butas. So the light will pass through this hole and then it will diffract like this. And then meron kang pangalawang screen, second screen, but this time the screen has two slits. Oy, dalawang butas. And then what Thomas Young observed is the interference of these waves to one another. Okay, so this is how Thomas Young was able to describe the interference of light waves back in his days. Okay. So the term diffraction, another wave property, was first discovered and coined by Francesco Grimaldi. He is an Italian natural philosopher. In the early 19th century, diffraction of light had been observed which firmly support the wave theory of light. So this is just like the experiment done by Thomas Young, but this time this is depiction of how light waves diffract using a barrier with a one slit open. So, kita nyo dito. So, dito po yung source ng ating wave. And then, suddenly, it will pass through this obstacle. And then, what will happen is it will diffract, no? It will bend. Ayan. So, in 1900s, Max Planck proposed the existence of light quantum, a finite packet of energy which depends on the frequency and velocity of the radiation. And in 1905, Albert Einstein proposed that light is composed of tiny particles called photons, each carrying energy. And he also proposed the photon theory of light, which explained that photons can behave like particle and a wave at the same time. Okay? So in conclusion, the dual nature of light was accepted by the scientific community. This is based on the series of discoveries and observations by different scientists. Diba? Kaya nga yung conclusion natin last week on our discussion that the true nature of light, meron siyang dalawa. Light can be described as a particle and at the same time, it can also be described as a wave. Now, after the acceptance of this concept, I mean the dual nature of light, another scientist tested the hypothesis in matter. So, imbis na gawin niya yung dual nature of light sa mismong light, Ginawa niya yung experiments na yon sa isang matter. Now, this scientist is named Louis de Broglie. Okay. So he made a bold assumption and performed experiments to confirm whether the same observation can be seen in matter. He concluded that everything has a wavelength, but the wave properties of matter are only observable for very small objects. So he said, or he concluded from his observation and experiment na lahat daw ng bagay ay merong wavelength. Pero as the things or as the objects grow smaller, mas nagiging observable yung mga wave properties ng matter na iyon. So, electron being a small object as they are, mas na-observe yung mga wave properties ng matter using electrons. So the wave-particle duality theory states that matter and light exhibit the behaviors of both waves and particles depending on the circumstances or conditions. So the wave-particle duality theory does not only apply to light, it also applies to matter, just like electrons. In his 1924 thesis, he predicted the wave nature of electrons and suggested that all types of matter have wave properties. This was known as the de Broglie hypothesis. His intensive studies and fascinations with particles led him to bravely come up with a theory that assumes that the wave-particle duality was not only manifested by light, but can also be exhibited by both radiation and matter. Because of this, de Broglie won the 1929 Nobel Prize for Physics. So alam naman natin, no, kapag ang isang tao or isang scientist ay nakatanggap ng isang Nobel Prize in a certain area, ibig sabihin talagang malaking bagay yung kanyang nagawa doon sa field na yon. So, yung de Broglie hypothesis about the wave-particle duality theory made him won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1929. So ganun ka-importante yung kanyang discovery. In 1927, American physicists Clinton Davison and Lester Germer proved the ideas of de Broglie in their experiments. Their discipline and determination made them successful in finding out that a beam of electrons, when reflected from a metallic crystal in a vacuum, shows diffraction patterns similar to those of X-rays and other electromagnetic waves. The experiment proved that particles of matter, especially the electrons, can actually show wave-like characteristics. In our modern times, an instrument called an electron diffraction tube can also show the wave nature of electrons. The concept of electron diffraction is used in solid-state chemistry and physics to study the crystal structure of solids. Yan, so it's Sci-Up time. Sci-Up meaning science applied. Sa segment na ito, magbibigay tayo ng ilan sa mga practical applications or career opportunities na related sa ating discussion or concept for this week. So, excited na ba kayong malaman kung paano ba ninyo pwedeng ma-apply ang ating napag-aralan in real life or pwede nyo magamit sa inyong job opportunities in the future? So for this week, ang ating lessons about electrons can be used in the field of electronic engineering. Alam nyo ba na ang way that electrons behave became the backbone of one of the branches of engineering? This engineering is called the electronic engineering. Electronic engineering as a profession emerged following the identification of the electrons in 1897 and the subsequent invention of the vacuum tube, which could amplify and rectify small electrical signals that inaugurated the field of electronics. Electronics deals with the theory and use of devices in which the electrons travel through vacuum, gas, or a semiconductor medium. Electronics are widely used in automobile industry, in engine control. It is also used in the advancements of technology and robotics. Okay? So, sa inyo ba mga dear students, meron ba sa inyo ang nais na maging electronics engineer balang araw? Or kumuha ng trabaho or mag-work on the field of electronics someday? So, sana naman may consider ninyo na maging part ng ganitong klaseng field kasi makakatulong kayo ng malaking bagay in the improvement of technology in our countries. So, kailangan pa natin ng mas maraming electronics engineer sa ating bansa to improve our communication and of course some of our technological device that can help ease our lifestyle. Okay? Now, let's move on to our discussion about the wave nature of light. Let's start with dispersion. Dispersion is the separation of white light into several colors or wavelengths. So, as you can see in the diagram, the white light passing through a prism will be dispersed to its different color bands. So we have red, orange, etc. up until the last color. Okay. Did you know that rainbows are nature's magnificent way of displaying the dispersion of light? So the water droplets suspended in the air acts like a prism that disperses all the colors of light. So yung rainbow na nakikita pala natin, that is actually an example of how light is being dispersed. Pero walang mga prism sa langit. Ang nangyayari doon, ang nag-act as a prism are the droplets of water suspended in air. Kaya nga 'di ba kadalasan nakakita tayo ng rainbow after umulan kasi meron pa medyo marami pa mga droplets of water in the atmosphere after raining. Okay? So this is an example of dispersion in lights. Okay? Another one is the scattering of light. It is the phenomenon in which light rays get deviated from its straight path on striking an obstacle like dust, gas molecules, or water vapors. So here are some of other everyday examples of scattering of lights. When a beam of sunlight enters a dark room through a small hole or window, its path becomes visible due to the scattering of light by the dust particles present in the room. And when the sunlight passes through the canopy of the dense forest, it gets scattered by tiny water droplets. Indeed, the scattering of light does not only fill our eyes with beauty, it also has practical application. So, mapapansin nyo dito, sa kapag nasa loob kayo ng isang kwarto, tapos merong maliit na butas, and then sa labas ay maliwanag, makita nyo yung beam of light na pumapasok that is being scattered by different dust particles. Diba? Makita nyo parang may mga maliliit na lumilipad-lipad na mga alikabok. That is how light is being scattered. Okay? Another wave nature of light is interference. It happens when two waves meet while traveling along the same medium. So interference can either be constructive or destructive. So as you can see dito, it is an example of how waves interfered with one another or meet with one another. So meron daw tayong dalawang uri ng interference. We have constructive and destructive. Constructive interference happens when two waves in phase meet and produce a larger amplitude. So these are two waves. Tapos pareho po yung kanilang position or yung kanilang phasing. So when they meet with one another, what will happen is they will produce a bigger amplitude. Okay? Destructive interference naman results in the cancellation of waves or reduction of the amplitude. So dito, mapapansin naman ninyo na parang opposite yung kanilang phasing, resulting to the cancellation or the reduction of the amplitude. Okay? That's the difference between the two. Okay, the last one is diffraction. So diffraction is the bending of light when it passes an obstacle or an opening. So this is an example of a diffraction. So mapansin dito, there's a wave source or source of wave, and then meron ka ditong obstacle na merong butas sa gitna. And as you can see, the wave passes through the obstacle and it is bended in this way, no? Para siyang pa-circular yung kanyang naging motion. Okay? Yan. So, kamusta naman ang ating mga live viewers ngayon? Marami ba kayong natututunan sa ating discussion? Tignan ko nga sa ating mga comments kung sino-sino ang ating mga viewers at kung saan-saan sila nanggaling. Okay. So, syempre, hindi pa na nawawala dito ang ating mga viewers from San Mariano National High School. Ayan, congratulations and welcome to our ETUlay live session for this week. We also have from Aurora Senior High School. Ayan, so thank you po sa ating pagsubaybay sa ating live session. We also have students from Buting Senior High School from Pasig City. Ayan, kung saan po ako nagtuturo. And of course, from Godofredo Reyes Senior National High School from SDO Camarines Sur. Ayan, so good afternoon sa inyong lahat at maraming salamat po sa walang sawang pagsubaybay sa ating mga live sessions. Okay? So, ayan. Now, let me present to you our learners na nanonood sa atin ngayon ang inyong activities. Para sa ating activity today, enumerate and explain at least 2 applications of the properties of light in medicine, industry, or other fields. So magbibigay lang kayo sa akin ng 2 applications ng mga properties of light na in-explain natin kanina in different fields. Like for example, application of the properties of light in medicine, nagamit pa to sa paggamot, sa mga medical equipments, or in industry, sa for example, sa paggawa ng building, sa paggawa ng mga structures, or in other related fields. Sa engineering ba, meron din application yung ating mga properties of light. At the same time, yung paggawa ng mga objects, etc., etc. So you have to enumerate them. Okay? You may submit your output in any digital format na nakikita nyo sa inyong mga screen. So basahin ko lang po ang link. So https :/bit.ly/3jrftcl. You enter your name, your grade and section, the name of your teacher, your school and SDO, and upload your output to be recognized. The output can be in any format possible like Word, PDF, or JPEG. Hihintayin po namin ang inyong mga submissions, mga live viewers. Just a reminder lang po, for the files na i-upload nyo po, please use the file name format na last name _ first name para mas madali pong makilala kung kaninong file ang aming binabasa. Binabasa din po namin ang inyong mga outputs and the best outputs will be considered for the student of the week. Uulitin ko po, use the file name format last name _ first name. Alright, so that's it. Let us summarize the things that we talked about this afternoon. First one, electrons both exhibit wave and particle properties. And the different phenomena that light exhibits are the following: dispersion, scattering, interference, and diffraction. Alright, so now let's move on to our quiz segment na pinangalanan po nating Gets Mo, Sagot Mo. Sa segment na ito ay may sasagutan po tayong 5 katanungan na of course taken from what we had shared to you earlier. We are inviting you, our live viewers, to have fun and sumali po kayo sa ating Gets Mo, Sagot Mo segment. Just comment po your answer in the comment section. Alright, so let's get started. Question number 1. This is a minute portion of matter and was known as the smallest building block of the universe. A. Photon. B. Portion. C. Particle. D. Product. So comment lang po your answer. Ano po ang ating sagot sa first question natin? Okay, so the answer is letter C, particle. Number 2, which theory states that all matter and light shows the characteristics of both wave and particle? A. Dual wave portion theory. B. Wave dual particle theory. C. Wave particle duality theory. Or letter D. Duality of Wave-Product Theory. Okay, so sa number 2, ano po ang ating dapat nasagot? A, B, C, or D? I-type lang po sa ating comment section. Okay. The answer is letter C, Wave-Particle Duality Theory. Okay, number 3. Which of the following particle has a negative charge? A, proton. B, neutron. C, electron. D, positron. Okay? So, alin sa mga particles na ito ang merong daw negative charge? So, comment lang your answer. Okay, the answer is, again, letter C, electrons. Number 4. This refers to the disturbance that travels through space-time. A, wave. B, photon. C, reflection. D, diffraction. Okay, ano kaya yung magiging sagot natin dito? Just type in your answer. Okay, the answer is letter A, wave. Okay, last question. What phenomenon occurs when colors of rainbows are seen when light passes through a glass prism? A, reflection. B, absorption. C, diffraction. D, dispersion. Okay, so comment your answer. Last questions na po tayo. The answer is letter D, dispersion. Yan. So congratulations to those who got the correct answers in all 5 questions. No, talaga namang napaka-hashtag mahusay ninyong lahat. So ang paksa na ating tinalakay ngayong hapon ay nakabatay po sa content ng Physical Science ADM Module 10 ng Region 4A Calabarzon. Salamat po sa inyong pagsama sa akin sa nakaraang 40 minutes na umatikabong live session patungkol sa wave-particle duality theory. We are inviting everyone to send us their feedback because it matters to us. If you are using a device with a QR code scanner, you may scan the code na makikita po ninyo sa inyong mga screen. Or you may screenshot this screen for you to scan it later. You may also type in your web browser the link displayed in the bottom area of the screen. That is tinyurl.com/ETUlay feedback form. Again, tinyurl.com/ETUlay feedback form. You may also send your words of appreciation using this link given. You can also give recommendation if you want someone to be our guest in the live stream next session. We would welcome it very much. You may also email your comments and suggestions to the email that you can read in your screens, edtech@deped.gov.ph. Inaayayahan din po namin kayo, aming mga minamahal na mga live viewers, na sabayan rin po ang ating mga tutors from General Biology 2 na sina Tutor Easter ng SDO Caloocan City at Tutor Tina ng SDO Pasig City after this session from 4:40 to 5:20. You may also watch the live session in Empowerment Technologies kasama ang ating mga tutor na sina Tutor Jane of SDO Puerto Princesa City at Tutor Junel ng SDO Ilocos Sur right after this session from 4:40 to 5:20. And that's it for this week. Number 4, suportahan din po natin ang ating mga tutor from different subjects, areas sa senior high school. Huwag pong kalilimutan from 4 o'clock to 5:20 in the afternoon. So, see you on Monday mula 4 to 4:40. Again, this is your tutor, Tutor Nel from SDO Pasig City. Goodbye and thank you.
Ang husay naman! Natapos mo ang iyong tutorial session kasama ang iyong mahusay na ETUlay tutor. May bago ka bang natutuhan? I-share na yan gamit ang hashtag ETUlay Level Up. Huwag aalis ha dahil may susunod pang programa na pwede mo ring panoorin at salihan. Dahil naghihintay na ang iyong mga tutors. Happy learning dito sa ETUlay!